Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Your Success, Your Life live event. Today's topic is about working from home and burnouts. But before I begin, I like to start off with a quote or a saying, and it's from Lao Tzu. And it goes like this: knowing others is intelligence, knowing yourself is true wisdom, mastering others is strength, mastering yourself is true power. Now, Lao Tzu is an ancient Chinese philosopher or a writer. I think he's both actually. But don't get confused between him and Confucius. I don't know who is more ancient, but I prefer Lao Tzu's saying. I feel like there's more wisdom behind it. So if I go back to the last statement, he said, mastering yourself is true power. So now, as a coach, that's what we aim to do. We support you to master yourself so you can empower your goals and your desires. So it's basically empowering yourself to reach your goals and desires. So that's, as a coach, we will support you to master yourself. And by doing so, it's true power for yourself. Anyways, so let me not get carried away. We will begin. I will open up with me, introduction of myself. Welcome everyone to Your Success, Your Life. My name is Reese, and I am a business change and success coach. Now, how did I become a coach? Here's my story. I have been working in corporate world for the past 18 years. And each year that went by, each year brought new challenges. And as a manager, I had to keep evolving. I had to keep changing. So change is a constant. That is very true. To keep alive, you need to change as well. So there were many challenges that I faced along the way that made me question my purpose. And that was, I was asking myself, am I in the right role? Am I living the dreams that were meant for me? So after spending 18 years in risk consulting, I felt it no longer fulfilled me. The task itself, the enjoyment, I felt like I lost it. And this feeling started maybe about 5 years ago, before I moved from New York to Netherlands. So my feeling was that something was not right. I was feeling like there was something empty. I was not feeling fulfilled, like I mentioned. Something just wasn't going right for me. And I was getting overwhelmed. I was getting stressed out. And eventually I did get a burnout. So all these feelings led to dissatisfaction. So then I started hating everything around me. So I didn't love what I do, and it didn't serve my purpose any longer. So I felt lost. And at one point I decided to hire a professional coach to help me discover my purpose. What I got out of the coaching sessions was learning about self-awareness and self-care. Eventually, my core values in life was starting to align with my purpose. Then I had clarity, and I found my motivation back. Now, as a manager, one of my tasks is to ensure younger staff members and also my peers are learning as they progress. And by learning, I don't mean just technical knowledge, technical know-how. It's more about the soft skills as well. So I also had a role to ensure that they were progressing in their career. And I enjoyed coaching them around that. That's when I realized that that is my purpose. Thinking back, I always liked helping others. So my first major, I had more than one major in college. So my first majors were psychology and sociology. I excelled in those classes. Well, I switched from that major to something else because I was listening to others. I was listening at that time about making money. The major that I was going to graduate with, psychology and sociology, did not provide that financial security that I was looking for. So eventually, eventually, the discovering of my own purpose and alignment made me realize helping others and seeing the benefits of them progressing was what I enjoyed doing. So now I'm here to serve corporate professionals like yourself who are in the mid-level management positions to become better leaders through coaching. And I would like to support you through that journey. Now, here's another quote that I wrote, and I reflect on it every time I feel down. And it goes like this: whatever we do in life, we will always need a guiding light to help us shine. We don't need to feel shame if that guiding light means asking for help. So there you go. That's my story on how I became a coach and why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I enjoy doing what I'm doing right now. All right, so let's begin. Let's start with our topic of the day, which is working from home and burnout. So, how can you experience burnout working from home? Now, before I begin, I want to share a true story. Right at the beginning of COVID, we were all told to work from home because offices are closed, nothing is going to be open. So this one friend of mine, whom we'll call John, was a second-year manager at a consulting firm. He is single and he's in his mid-30s, so he's primed to, enjoy life. So working from home was exciting times for him. He felt he could better manage his working days working from home. He didn't have to commute to work and also go home, or going home from work. Commute was not an issue, and there's no need to take lunch. There's no need for him to step out to take lunch. So during lunch hours, working from home, he could go for a quick run, for example, or he could spend more time on doing more purposeful things than he could at work in the office. He even told me that this is going to be so awesome. His dream was to get paid working from home. And now this was back in the beginning of March or late March 2020. So months went by and we're still working from home. So about a month after this, I called John just to check up on him. And he answered his phone and he sounded like he didn't sleep for days, it sounded like. And I thought he was physically sick. I thought he caught something. But he was like, I asked him, are you partying a lot more now since you're working from home? And his response back to me was he didn't want to talk. And he actually said, I don't have time to speak because I have to meet this tight deadline that I need to get out the door today. I need to send out this thing out to him today, to the manager today. Then he said he couldn't handle work anymore. And I was like, wait, what's going on, John? And he was like, it's getting to him and that he felt like quitting. But with the state of the economy at that time, he felt very reluctant to go and look for another job. And then he plainly said to me, he said, Reese, I'm feeling burnt out at work. And I was like, how? You're working from home, dude. Like, how can you feel burnt out? You're working from home and it's like a newfound freedom for you. So anyways, after a couple of days, I was thinking, what the hell happened to John? It didn't sound like his excitement, like what happened back in early March. So then the dream of working from home shouldn't cause burnout. That's what I was thinking. It should have the opposite impact. So I checked on John again, and then he finally broke down and he told me what happened. He said, working from home sucks because his managers or his directors, his bosses, were constantly calling him to check up on him, to make sure that he's delivering on time, to make sure that he has enough work to get by for the week. So I was like, that's the reason why he's feeling burned out working from home. It's not the fact that, it's that freedom or whatever, but it's just that new approach that we're doing. And as a manager, as a leader, we need to look out for this issue as well. So that is the story. That is a true story of what happened to John. Now, I changed my friend's name for my own safety. But I just want to cover the fact that working from home doesn't mean freedom. It creates this working environment of distrust of employees. So as a manager or as a boss, then you start having this feeling. So if you're a manager or you supervise staff, you know what I mean by trusting your employees. Because you have your own work to get done as well. So not having trust can lead to micromanaging style. And that's a topic that I want to discuss today later. So during these times, this managing style can just explode exponentially. since everyone is working virtually. I want to share some tips for both managers and employees out there. For managers, one, trust your employees. Two, don't micromanage. If you don't have to, just don't micromanage. And for employees and managers, basically everyone out there, I will give you some pointers on how to recognize and deal with burnout. So these are the three topics that I'd like to cover today. Trust your employees, don't micromanage as a manager, and point number three is for everyone out there, managers and employees, whoever you are, on how to recognize burnout and how to deal with burnouts. So point number one, I'm going to elaborate on trust. So how do you trust employees working from home? As a manager who supervises remote employees, you know you now have a different approach. You have a different set of challenges now than you would working from the office, obviously. Managing remote employees requires a different approach nowadays. We do not have the option to simply pop our heads out of our desk and walk over to our staff's desk or even a team member's desk and catch up. We can't do that anymore. So, as I said, working virtually, managing styles have to change. It requires a different approach. It means finding a firm balance between supervision and trust. So how do you build trust when you work remotely then as a manager? One, be transparent. It's something everyone should do actually. It's even more important in a remote work environment. When we are working remotely, it's easy to accidentally withhold information. I do that sometimes. Like I'm so concentrated at my task that I'm like, I cannot get out of my desk and walk over and talk to someone. No. And it's too tedious to actually click on the chat and then start typing, hey, blah, 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 because I am already typing my memo, for example. So anyway, so it's very easy to accidentally withhold information or not provide information context to your staff. And it could be the other way around as well. So the staff could not be providing vital information to the managers, to your bosses. So, and as you provide these relevant information to your team or to your staff, to your bosses, it means there are no surprises. So being transparent means there's no surprises. And if you want to build trust, you can't have surprises. Being transparent means discussions are opened and no one will be left out of important topics or important discussions. So I've worked with bosses who trust their employees a lot, and then I've also worked with bosses who never trusted anyone. But I can tell you, it is more enjoyable to work with a boss who is transparent and have trust in their employees. So there you go. Point number one, trust. Now, point number two, for managers, how do you build trust? You need to set clear expectations, but you have to stick to these expectations. You can't change them. Managers need to make it clear how they expect progress to be communicated. Set a timeline. Set status meetings. Maybe do it every Friday or every other day or something, just to have a status meeting, just to catch up. Set a time where you can discuss. So once you set those expectations, you need to stick to them. Your team needs to know that you're not going to change positions. This, of course, is all supported by the transparency point that I just discussed, we mentioned earlier. Now, how do you do this on setting expectations or part of your expectations? Just record your meeting minutes. Send updates consistently. Be sure all expectations are written down and shared. So that's one way to set your expectation, and at the same time, you're also being transparent when you send out your notes or your expectations. And point number three, focus on output and not time spent on work on a task. So building trust also employs this, is to focus on the output, not on the task. When I talk about trust in remote work environment, I am not talking about trusting that employees are working from 9 to 5, 8 to 7, or what have you. We're trusting that they're going to accomplish what we've agreed that they should accomplish. So ladies and gentlemen, managers, here's an opportunity to learn how to be a manager, a good manager that values output, not time spent. To me, the value of remote work is that trust and that ability to empower every person to manage their time, to manage their days and their responsibilities around the output, not time spent. We make a promise to each other. So we would say, I'm going to deliver on this thing, and if I can't deliver it to you, I'm going to communicate why I couldn't. Again, going back to transparency. So building trust is transparency, not focusing on your output, and then setting clear expectations. So there you go. So that's how you build trust. Short, easy, 3 steps. If you have additional pointers, please let me know. Comment below, comment in, and we can add it on to our next topic, our next conversation. So point number 2, micromanaging. Micromanaging, how not to create burnout for your staff is do not micromanage. If you don't have to, again, if you don't have to micromanage, don't do it. Now, I say if you don't have to because we humans love to be different. We all have our habits and our personalities and characters. So if certain people requires micromanaging, but go ahead and do it, but not to a point where you're just annoying the heck out of that person. So if you're this type of manager, listen up. If you're this type of manager who are always constantly micromanaging, listen up. Here are some do's and don'ts about managing remote employees without micromanaging. So the first point goes back to my points earlier. Do not worry about your staff not working. If you built the trust that I spoke about earlier, then this should not be an issue. You can put aside the fear that your remote employees are taking advantage of you or taking advantage of their flexible arrangements and dodging their work. You need to take that out of your mind. You need to trust them. We're all mature individuals. And point number 2, do not let your staff work too much. Check in every now and then to see how they're doing. If they need help with anything, check in every now and then and ask them how they're doing in terms of like, hey, what do you like watching on TV? What sports do you like? What are you having for lunch? What are you having for dinner? So strike up that connection. You need that connection. You need to build that connection. And by building that connection, you are building that trust again. Because a lot of times, working from home now will leak into our personal time. If you have family, that will be very, very hectic because now working from home, your family have more access to you. So as a manager, you need to understand that as well of your staff members. Number 3, don't treat working from home as an opportunity of reward. You need to get this mindset out of your head. Sometimes working from home is a necessity. So as a manager, don't think that it's a reward that you are rewarding your employees because they can get to work from home. Get that out of your mind. The other point is, don't expect employees to work exactly 9 to 5. Flexibility in work schedule spells happiness for employees. It's for everyone. So which in turn means better output. It's reasonable to ask staff to be accessible for a few hours that might overlap, but otherwise they may be more productive if you let them work at whatever time they choose. So you'll notice that there are some overlaps between what I mentioned about point 1 and 2, about trust, building trust, and also do not micromanage. So that there's a lot of overlaps there. It is a cause and effect type of situation. So setting expectations and a deadline creates trust in which in turn also limits you as a manager to micromanage. So you don't need to do that. Since we are on the topic of micromanaging and the do's and don'ts, I want to share something with you guys from a European news program that I watched the other night. And it's quite relevant to the topic that we're talking about today. So in some countries in Europe, Companies are using technology to spy on their employees, especially times now where people are working from home. So this technology allows employees to indicate number of hours spent on a document, for example. If you're a manager and you're using this technology, please don't use it to micromanage. It will destroy the trust that you have with your employees. Please revert back to point 1 and 2 that I just mentioned on how to create trust and how not to micromanage. Instead, use this technology to prevent burnout. This will generate trust between you and your staff member. If you have that technology to see how many hours they're spending on a document, maybe they need help. Maybe there's something going on. So check in with them. See if everything is all right with them, rather than reverting to your micromanaging style. So point number 3, and this one is for everyone. The first 2 pointers were for managers, trust and micromanaging. So now this point is for everyone experiencing burnout. It could be a manager, could be a staff or a regular employee, or an employee feeling unmotivated and experiencing burnout. So here are some tips on how to recognize burnout. Red flag number 1, exhaustion. In general, if you're feeling bitter, and you're just don't care about things that you usually do, you're probably headed towards a full out, blown out situation here. Managers should engage with you, or if you're a manager, engage with your staff members and check in. Is the staff member staying silent during meetings and conversations, meetings like virtual meetings? Is it difficult for them to focus or be patient with others? So as a manager, look out for these signals for this red flag. The other red flag is avoiding work. Yeah, avoiding work. When we're feeling burned out at work, we suddenly want to do everything except work. We just want to do nothing, basically. So now you need to ask yourself, as a manager, ask yourself, is the staff member letting phone calls ring through the voicemail? Signal number 1. Are they constantly late to your virtual meetings? They're not showing up. Are they procrastinating? Again, as a manager, these could be pointers that they're experiencing burnout. Check in on them. Check in on your staff members. Red flag number 3, productivity is down. Don't need to say this. If your productivity is down, then something is wrong, right? So in the early stages of burnout, our brains are constantly in a state of stress, which switches people to survival mode, causing us to slip in our responsibilities and our tasks. So now as a manager, you need to ask yourself, has a staff member been consistently arriving late to your virtual meetings or to meetings in general? And is the quality of their work declining? If they make mistakes, are they blaming other people? I remember when I had experienced burnout, I was actually blaming others also. I was like, yeah, I couldn't do this because I was relying on someone else's work, so I couldn't get that done. Rather than being proactive and going out there and saying, hey, I need this work. When do you think I expected? That communication broke down. So I was just starting to blame others. So if you notice that character or that sign, then this person might be experiencing burnout as well. So these red flags should be pointers for managers to look out for in order to keep your staff, your employee healthy. These red flags happen in the office and also working from home also. So just don't think that this happens in the office. It happens at working from home remotely as well. So bottom line, always check in with your staff members on their well-being. Ask them how are they doing rather than, hey, where's the report? Where was that report I asked for yesterday? Don't do that. For staff members, if you're going through any of the red flags that I just mentioned you are experiencing, you are going through a burnout. So if you are, speak to your manager, speak to your counselor, speak to anyone, and let them know what you're experiencing. You might need help to alleviate your stress and your to-dos. Maybe you need to spread them out a little bit. You need help to do that, and don't be afraid to ask for help. It's not going to impact your performance. Now, how to prevent burnout working from home? 1, you must set your office hours. I know working from home, like I said, it can leak into your personal time because everyone has access to you. You have access to other things like the coffee machine, the television. So set boundaries between work and play. You don't need to overwork, but then you also need time to relax a bit, because now you tend to work maybe 12 hours. You're supposed to be working 8 hours, but because you're home, you feel like, yeah, I'm just gonna get this done now. Okay, point number 2 on how to prevent burnout. Take some time off. And by this, I mean, take 30 minutes break. Take a walk, go outside, take a walk, go for a run, do something, do some activity around the house, or if you need to clean up a room or whatever, that is still activity. Just spend some 20 minutes organizing, and by organizing, it could clear your mind as well. So that is also helpful. And point number 3, if you're living alone and you're working from home alone, call your friends sometimes, call your family just to talk about anything. Talk about what you watched, talk about what you saw, talk about your day yesterday. We need to keep our minds off of work. We need to have that social engagement. We always do. As human beings, we need that. So we need to have our sanity, some sanity. So remember, take some time off, set your office hours, and then call a friend. Not a joke. Call a friend or family member, just to engage on social stuff. All right. So those were my pointers for managers on how to prevent your staff from a burnout, and for everyone experiencing burnout, what signs to look for and how to prevent it. So I hope that this has been helpful for you today. If you're interested in knowing more or how I can support you as a coach, please drop me a message below or book time with me for a complimentary session on how we can work together via my website at www.yoursuccessyourlife.com. Again, I am Reese, your business change and success coach. Thank you for watching. Until next time. Thank you.